I recently went to a gathering of a Masters in Applied Positive Psychology alumni, and I've been one of them, and we were all sharing about what we know what is happiness. And I'm not wanting to contradict you, David, because I really enjoyed you sharing, but there's a really interesting thing that came out from this conversation about what is the one thing that brings happiness. One thing everybody can agree about it. And the one thing everybody can agree was, there isn't one thing. And this is really interesting, because we all talk about the optimal levels. So I want to talk about optimal levels of happiness. So for example, gratitude is a great one. Gratitude about oxytocin. And oxytocin is the bonding hormone. But what's interesting is there's also a dark side to oxytocin as a bonding hormone, because it's also the loyalty hormone. And my experience of that, if you think about it, if you create loyalty, if somebody feels threatened, one of their groups threatened, people become very aggressive. Yeah, and it's actually interesting about when mothers are protecting their babies, it's oxytocin that drives that reaction. So it's interesting about how we create optimal levels. So when we talk about well-being workouts, we're talking about, when you do exercise, you can exercise too much. And the same thing is you can create too much of these things. So in our ideal well-being workout, how do we create the optimal levels of things? So I want to share 5 sources of the word happiness. So the word happiness is used as an umbrella term for lots of things. Gratitude is one of them, which is a great one. And I think it's really important we cultivate that when we have those opportunities. The other one, which is about connection, a really important form of connection. So I just want you to take literally 30 seconds, and I'd like you to turn to somebody you haven't met before in the room and introduce yourselves. Just say hello. Or maybe you go and try and greet them, find out who they are. Just take 30 seconds, say hello to somebody, find out who they are. Okay, pause. Connection. So we all know we're naturally social creatures. Okay, and we learn not to be. You walked in the room earlier on because we're conditioned idea we don't talk to strangers, and we walk in the room, but now given the permission, you start talking to them. It's really interesting, isn't it? It's such an important part of our well-being, how we do that. Also, knowing that we're going to connect also increases our well-being and happiness. So for example, think about somebody right now you've not been in touch with recently. All right, you don't have to share it. Just think of somebody you haven't been in touch with recently that you think, oh, actually I'd quite like to be in touch with them. All right. And now make a little commitment to yourself that you're going to be in touch with them. Maybe set yourself a little time, maybe make a phone call to connect with them. All right. And just the idea that you're going to connect with somebody releases a kind of connection hormone. So it's really interesting about doing that idea. So connecting is one of those. The other form of happiness I want to talk about is this idea of joy. Joy actually comes from doing things that are really important to us. Yeah? And when we do the things that are important to us, it really connects with our deepest held values. So, for example, one of my values is giving. And when I feel like I'm giving, I feel kind of connected with my own personal values. Does anyone else value is giving? Yeah, quite a number of you. Okay, so I want to do a little thing with you. So, yes, I'll thank you. Can you think of somebody you could give to, something that would really make their day?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So in here, there's a 10 pound sharpshooter for John Lewis. Would it be something that they really appreciate?
Vice versa.
Can you think of someone else? Can you think of somebody who really find it useful?
Yes.
Yes, you could. Okay. So I'll give that to you.
No.
You give it to the person. Okay, that's fine. And what's interesting about it is the person might want to reciprocate it. Has anyone ever heard this idea of passing it forward or give it forward? Yeah. So most people like to match people's giving. The idea is if you want to change the world, you get people to match it to go pass it forward. Yeah, so you give something, it gives somebody else, and it changes people's relationships because they start to connect. Yeah, they want it already. So. And the last form of happiness, and I'm just going to get Mike Howley with this one, so I'm going to put on my uniform for this, which is an interesting one. I don't know if I've got the right bits here. And Mike's been very good at providing this so far, so I thought I'd better match him somehow. And since it's being filmed, I better get... But one of the things about happiness is the one thing we often regard as being the biggest source of happiness is pleasure. We like pleasure. It's really important to have pleasure in our lives. And what's interesting is that how often do we take the opportunity? I need you to zip me up, Mike. I've never asked about that one before, but you're going to zip me up. And and the interesting thing about when we explore a pleasure is the effect of laughter. Now, I'm not trying to make you laugh, I'm just putting something on that I quite like dressing up. And it's quite an interesting way. So, and if you thought about it, if I was trying to tell you something quite serious, and I walked in like this, the likelihood is you're going to think, what is the, there's kind of a different set of hormones gets released. And the idea of our pleasure is that how we shift optimal pleasure, because a lot of our pleasure experience is based on things. Yeah, we buy things, we buy shiny things. And it's like the magpie effect. We get pleasure from buying things. But the danger of pleasure from buying things is that we don't always have the resources to keep buying. And what's interesting is you can replicate the pleasure experience by just doing something that's playful. Yeah, and the most important thing, going back to my experience, was novelty. Did you expect me to put this on tonight and stand in like this? Probably not. If I kept doing it, it wouldn't be novel. You start thinking, oh, this Byron is wearing it. So it kind of loses its interest, but novelty, the one thing you can do is if you do things that's novel regularly, you can actually increase people's well-being. Yeah, and actually one of the things happens. And I had a joke which I'm going to share with you, which I like, is the idea of jokes and just simple things. Like my favourite joke is, doctor, doctor, everybody hates me. Doctor, don't be silly, not everyone's met you yet. You know, it's kind of the idea that if you kind of, and the unexpected can actually have a big effect. I don't have any more jokes. I'll just stand here like this. Just to share very finally. So the point about the wellbeing workout is, what are the optimal forms of things of wellbeing and happiness? Very often things people already know they can do. And not trying to overdo it by doing too much of it. Yeah, because if we overdo it and too much of it, it's like exercising too much. You lose the benefit. So it's recognise and do all these things. And the world is full of opportunities. You know, turn to the person next to you, have a conversation. You know, look for opportunities to give. And the giving isn't necessarily giving vouchers away. It could be simply being given the time of your day, conversation. Yeah. So, thank you for listening.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Byron. That's absolutely brilliant.